My guy is back in the building. Well, I want to thank Larry for joining us again on the Red Pill Diaries. I'm seeing something right now, Larry, that is blocking the viewers from accessing the site now on YouTube. So this is the first time I went here just to check, and it won't. It only shows us, but there's no sound or anything like that. But we're gonna power through this, Larry. I'm telling you.
All right.
I want to ask you. Um, what is going on with the political system? We see the whole world is watching America, and we saw the circus around what happened to former President Trump and now presidential candidate Trump. How they tried to assassinate him live on the air. We see all the inconsistencies with the FBI story and the the Secret Services story. Do the people or the powers that be behind the scene recognize that these are not just black eyes on the republic and a black eye on democracy, but this is a excrement show, and people are now being turned away from American politics?
Yeah. Well, we've become that old joke. The joke about the guy is in bed with the wife of his next door neighbor, and his wife comes home and catches him in bed. And so he immediately gets out and starts putting his clothes on. The wife screaming at him, and she said, "What are you doing?" He says, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" "Oh, what? Who's that woman in bed?" "What woman?" So you know, no, no, no. Woman? No, there's nobody in bed. You're not seeing anybody here. I'm not doing anything. I'm here working. Okay, So that's called gaslighting.
Hmm.
And it was always funny in the joke because it was just so ridiculous
Hmm.
because you could see with your eyes what was going on. And I remember, I forget which show this was on, but it was done as a comedy sketch. Well, it ain't funny anymore because they're
Hmm.
doing a real life, a real time across the board. First it started with Joe Biden. Oh, Joe
Hmm.
Biden, man, he is sharp as a tack. That dude will run circles around Albert Einstein. They're not going to let him on Jeopardy because he's so damn smart. He would answer every question and they'd never get him off. He'd be winning money. We go from that to, oh my God, we can't allow him to even stay as president. Well, we can stay president for 6 months, but after that, we can't have him anymore. He's incompetent. He's incapable. You go, what? What? Yeah, I mean, people who were shocked at his debate performance. I go, shocked? Uh, you know, I mean, that's like, you got a friend who's in a wheelchair, and you take him to a track meet, and they can't run, and you're shocked. God, I thought that chair was just for decoration. So, you know, they've done that with Biden. Now we're getting the Harris gaslight. Oh my God, this woman, she walks on water. She's feeding the multitudes. I mean, if Jesus was a chick, this would be her. She is so wise. She's so smart. And you're going, you know, and it gets to the point
Hmm.
where, they say, well, she was never the border czar. And you go, but to this, they're like Axios, you go, but you guys wrote an article calling her the border czar. No, we didn't. Well, yeah, here it is. That's not us. So we're back to the guy in bed with his neighbor's wife kind of thing. So, I mean, it's across the board. Secret Service. Um, the new acting director is a clown. He's a dangerous clown. He's worse than Cheetos or Cheeto. I guess, Cheeto worked at Frito Lay, who makes Cheetos. So go figure. They they gave her that in, but her deputy is now the acting director, and that deputy is apparently, I hear from uh, service people, a total disaster. And he wrote a letter praising. Oh man, when Cheeto resigned, he wrote a letter saying, let's take a moment to just pause and remember what a sensational person this woman was, how she really helped and make Secret Service a better place. And it was like, dude, yeah, she screwed the dog. This was bad. You guys have one
Hmm.
job, really one primary job. Keep the people that you're protecting from getting shot. You didn't do that. He protected himself, just happened to turn the head and boom, missed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so across the board, this gaslighting has led to a political system that it's delusional. So, think about the mixed messaging. The Democrats want you to believe that there's no such thing as male and female. They're like Baskin Robin ice cream flavors. Man, you got butternut crunch, and you got coffee, and you got banana strawberry, and we got there's not male, female. Are you kidding? Oh, but you got to vote for Kamala. She's the first black female. Are you sure she's a woman? I mean, how do we know? I know with the female dog, you just roll it over and look. You say, oh, okay, yeah, no testicles. All right, yeah. Is that what we do with Kamala to find this out? So, that kind of mixed messaging is at work. And so it's, and then, it ties into the climate denial business. The people who were praising the Olympic opening ceremony with, that land whale disguised as fat Jesus as a woman. I mean, come on. Good God. I guess, she tried out for a bowling ball commercial. They said she's too round, So.
Larry, again, you and I talked right before we came on the air, and I got to ask you this question on there. Do these people in power realize how they look to the rest of the world while always trumpeting democracy, and yet
Yeah.
they're trying to prevent democracy at work? And just like what just took place yesterday with the re-election of Maduro in Venezuela, and Blinken steps out and says, "Well, there's a lot of inconsistencies, and there's much to be desired, and we should have a clear and fair election." And yet we see the stuff that is going on in the American political system,
Yeah.
how they're trying to assassinate a person, how there's a dispute over the last election, and how more people are skeptical on this election because they feel like something it may repeat itself from the last election to this election. Do they understand what's going on?
Oh, hell no. No. Nor do they care. I mean, look, just the fact that Blinken is so clueless. If I was Maduro, I'd turn around and say, we got our votes in and counted them within 24 hours. You guys took 2 weeks and you still never had questions about who won the election. And, so don't lecture us on fair and free elections. I don't know if it was fair or free, but that's Venezuelan business. None of our damn business. Fix ourselves at home. We're like that ultimate busybody out trying to tell everybody else how to clean their house. And meanwhile, our place is just filled with maggots and filth. Yeah.
It's just unreal. And the more they act like this, the more they implement policies like this. It seems like to me, the more they become detached from reality, like the defunding of education, the defunding of civil services, the defunding of the prime institutions that make the republic a viable republic. It seems like they are no longer concerned with that. All they're concerned with is funding covert operations and wars abroad, while the people at home uh, just get the butt end of everything. I, I'm trying. It's hard for me to put my head around them being so either dumb or willingly having these things to take place while screaming about how much they love America. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just beyond me to, the policies show that you are destroying everything that you claim that you believe.
Yeah. Well, they're venal. They're malevolent. Look at what's happening right now. If you're watching any of the media for the last 24, 36 hours, Hezbollah killed 10 children. No, it's 11 children. No, it's 12 children. Well, So, they killed 12 children. And I mean, it's like it's top of the news.
Mm-hmm.
Hezbollah, look what oh my God. Now, number one, it's not even clear it was Hezbollah.
That's right.
That's fact number one. Fact number two, Israel's been killing that many kids every single day since about October 8th or 9th in Gaza. And the world says nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all being touted as this is Iranian-backed Hezbollah. So this is all being ginned up in the United States on media in order to enrage the American public, because we're going to get involved now in the war in the Middle East. The United States is going to get involved. And this is all being done to build up the emotional, yeah, America,
Mm-hmm.
USA, USA, all that nonsense as we go get ourselves embroiled in a war we have no business being involved with. And they ignore the fact that they're claiming they're implying that these were Jews. Well, they weren't. These were Druze. These were Christians. They're citizens of Syria.
Mm-hmm.
They've just become citizens of Israel because Israel conquered the territory in the Six-Day War, I believe it was, and hasn't given it back. But it's not like these are devout, patriotic citizens of Israel. No way. And just to further underscore that Hezbollah's been targeting military installations. They haven't been going after civilian targets, schools, hospitals, synagogues. And you say, well, how do you know that? Well, okay, this war's been underway for 8 months. Hezbollah and Israel have been trading blows back and forth. Don't you think that if Israel had hit and killed a bunch of Israeli children, Jewish children, that it'd be all over the news? I mean, my God, all they talk about is the 40 babies that the Hamas killed on October 7th, even though that's a lie. It's a complete fabrication. Man, that's all they talk about. Well, they could if Hezbollah was actually targeting and killing children playing soccer and such, Israel would have been having a field day with that for months. Well, that hadn't been the case. This doesn't fit Hezbollah's MO. It looks like they fired a rocket or a missile that the Israelis tried to intercept with an Iron Dome, and the Iron Dome missile, that's what fell and killed these kids. Is the most likely explanation. But Hezbollah has been pretty adamant in its denial. And in the past, if they've done something, they've been pretty proud to admit it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that. That was us. Yeah. Sometimes they even took credit for stuff they didn't do. But most of the time they take credit for what they did do. Mm-hmm. So Israel is using this as a pretext to go to war with Lebanon and try to destroy Hezbollah. It's like, guys, you can't even defeat Hamas. Yeah, you can kill a lot of Palestinians who are all unarmed, but that's not going to be the case against Hezbollah. Hezbollah is armed to the teeth. And up to this point, they have avoided hitting civilian targets in Israel. But if Israel starts killing, Hezbollah families, relatives, gloves are off, and Israelis are going to die in the thousands, like they never have.
You brought up a whole bunch of interesting points, and I brought those similar points up yesterday and day before yesterday. And there's something like when this went down, a lot of things, it was just something that didn't add up. And I was thinking about how this would have been a gift to Netanyahu for the Western press, and how Hezbollah has never denied what they've done. They've almost always owned up to what they've done.
Yeah,
but here's a point that a lot of people miss. Because when this happened, I went to the UN. I was searching the UN charter and everything, and I was searching for international law, and I found out that we all know that where this took place is Syrian territory under occupation by Israel. We know that. according to international law and according to the UN doctrine, you are justified in using and having an armed struggle to liberate your land if it is under occupation. So you can resort to um, violence or use of weapons to liberate your land from occupation. So even let's just give it to Israel and say Hamas, Hezbollah did it. Well, that is occupied land, and so
Yeah, yeah.
according to international law, they are in within their limits to try to decolonize what has been colonized by Israel. Larry, why does no pundit bring that up? Because this, when you talk about international law, it to me it shows the hypocrisy of the West. Because had it been the shoe on the other foot, it would have been they're in violation of UN law such and such, UN resolution. This why isn't the alternative media specifically and especially mentioning that if it was Hezbollah under international law, it would have been legitimate for them to strike Syrian territory because they are allies to the Syrian Arab Republic and they're helping to try to liberate Syria from occupation.
Right. Well, they could make that argument, but again, the targeting of civilians is the thing,
Mhm.
and the West is, we're great hypocrites on that front. Uh, even during World War II, where we bombed civilian areas inside Germany and
Mhm.
in Japan and killed, probably more than 1 million between Japanese and Germans. Certain, I think in Germany the figure was like 800,000, and it was probably similar, if not larger, in Japan. So, uh, you know, the West has been a hypocrite on this. It is, I guess, what caught my eye and draws my attention is the timing of this,
Mhm.
because Netanyahu was just in the United States
Mhm.
making the case that the United States needs to help Israel destroy Iran. In his private meetings with Biden and Harris, even though they, officially didn't want to try to distance themselves from him, I think unofficially, they reportedly excuse me, gave Netanyahu the green light. Hey, yeah, go take out Hezbollah. Have at it. And the foreign minister, Katz, announced yesterday, day before that, yeah, uh, we've got permission not only of the United States, but of the Europeans. We got the green light to go destroy Hezbollah. Boy, you try to warn them off that, hey, you don't want to do this. This is dangerous. This is bad. But uh, they're going to, it looks like Israel's going to go through with it. And if they go through with this is going to really ratchet up international tensions. This war is likely to spread and spread beyond anyone's ability to control it. It's really a dangerous move.
Muhammad Al Assaid said, question, is it reasonable to say that the West is not sleepwalking to world war, but intentionally walking to world war?
Yeah, I think that at least some are, because they assume it won't be that bad, or we're bigger, better, and stronger than we actually are.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's um, the decision making skills of these people are really alarming in my view.
Mhm. Before we get really into the Ukraine conflict, I want to position to Africa and Mali. The death of Wagner Group personnel and Malian soldiers
Right.
through an ambush by what is quote unquote Ukraine. Is this the United States and NATO and Ukraine ratcheting up things? Because if we look at the situation and we go for what is being explained to us, they say Ukraine has forces in Mali and in Africa training rebels, excuse me, to destabilize different countries. But the core of that We know that Ukraine has no ability to transport troops on a long-term basis to that region, and they have no financing to do it. So for that to take place, America had to okay and had to provide the funds and the transportation for that to happen. Is this an escalation because they're losing in Ukraine itself and they're trying to exact revenge, lashing out like little kids that's been beaten in a spoiled little kid that's been beaten in a game, and they're lashing
Yeah.
out over here because they don't have the testicular fortitude over there to face the reality?
Well, I think let's not rule out British involvement as well.
Yes, yes.
So, British and American involvement behind this uh, group operating out of, I believe, is Chad. Uh, yeah, it is, the proxy war theory. It's the first time in this. So this is going to escalate tensions there as well. You kill that many uh, Russians, the Russians, they come back and get revenge.
Hmm.
And so they will up the armament level of what the Malian forces have, and it may even send additional personnel, and specifically are going to target uh, the Al Qaeda elements to carry this out because they're not a small group. They had apparently a lot of
Hmm.
firepower, and you can't
Hmm.
rule out the high likelihood that through my old organization, the CIA, that they were actively involved with providing paramilitary support to this group.
Hmm. Because they said that the fighting took place over a period of days. Um, I was told by someone that the Russian forces talked to certain countries in NATO and told them that they have information that states that they are pretty much sure that there was NATO nation involvement and to prepare for reprisal. What would that mean, a reprisal? Um, uh, are the Russians going to make it known that they struck back and struck back hard? Because those were, and then not only were those soldiers and Wagner crew killed, but they were put on camera and mocked by the
Yeah.
people after the war. This is against international law to do that, but they did it nonetheless. And do you think that this will force Vladimir Putin's hand because the people he has an audience that he has to deal with in Russia itself?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to necessarily force Putin's hand, but it is going to produce a response by the Russians, and it'll be probably, um, as I said, it's going to increase Russia's presence there and expand what they're willing to do in terms of violence.
Mhm.
So they may even end up crossing border into Chad to go after and destroy these groups, which then is going to raise the prospect of another regional war spinning up. Which I don't put it past the United States or Great Britain to try to encourage and promote such a thing. The
Mhm.
part of the strategy, see how many different countries you can get Russia tied down in to strain its resources. Uh,
Mhm.
that could be one plan of the United States. So I think the Russians, they're usually pretty smart about not taking the bait on these. Um, but there will be payback, I'm sure.
Well, even if they had that thought to strain the Russians and have them bogged down in multiple places, this is not 40 years ago, and Russia is not economically constrained
Right.
like the U.S. and the West is. So if the U.S. is and the West are engaged in these little scrimmages around the globe, it seems like the blowback will first hit them before it hit Russia, just like with the sanctions. The Western sanctions are killing the West and not Russia. Russia's economy is growing and it is booming, and yet everybody from the United States to Great Britain are in a tailspin economically. So it seems like they are projecting what they wish to happen on Russia, but it's actually going to fall back into their laps. What do
Yeah,
you
no,
think?
I think that's correct. Because um, we're seeing sort of the limits of U.S. power. We used to, let's say before 9/11, we sort of thought American power was limitless. and that we could do about anything we set our minds and hearts to. Well, but then we've got, we saw we were unable to really bring a decisive end to the war in Iraq. We still got military personnel there, and still the Iraqis want us to get the hell out, and we're refusing. We saw that we got beat in Afghanistan. He said, "No, we didn't get beat. We left." Okay, yeah, call it what you want. Okay, this is we like to do Special Olympics and award participation ribbons, but the fact of the matter is, you lost all of the billions, tens of billions of dollars poured into Afghanistan, and lo and behold, the Taliban are back in charge. Mm-hmm. So then the latest indignity is the Houthis. We've been fighting the Houthis now since December. And when Lloyd Austin announced Operation Prosperity Guardian, well, we keep dropping bombs, and the Houthis keep on launching missiles. So and that goes back to the point we made earlier about the United States believes that it can just drop enough bombs on some place and that'll force people to surrender, and it just doesn't work out that way. And I would even argue that while we say that dropping atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima proved that an air campaign can work, I would even I think there's even some question about that. And there's some other that war certainly would have ended with or without the bomb, I believe now. But we still got to feed that beast of air power, and yet the technology is changing such that these what was it? The B-1 bomber is like $800 million. It's almost $1 billion aircraft, and just one of those. Whereas now you could have 1 million drones for that price. Mm-hmm. So it's just the world sort of turned upside down, where the United States is living with a historical model that is really no longer relevant to the modern world.
Mm-hmm. Seems like that's what happened to the British Empire, but they were smart enough to attach themselves to the U.S. as it was on its ascendancy. My channel member Medi says, problem in the U.S. is spread thin as it is. How long can we ensure our sons and daughters are not cut off and isolated?
We can't until we get rid of the current leadership in government in the United States. And that includes, members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, who are all these advocates for war. Mark my words, I'm if this rhetoric that's going on, and I need to go watch MSNBC and CNN just to make sure that it's consistent over there as well. But they are really trying to spin up the American public that, when Israel hits Lebanon, and they could, Doug McGregor's worried that they could hit Lebanon with tactical nuclear weapons. And I mean, if Israel goes that far, there's no telling where this will end. It's not going to end in a good place. Let me put it that way.
Well, Pakistan had already conveyed that if Israel uses nuclear weapons on Palestine or Turkey, that they would then counter that and with their nuclear weapons. And I believe the last count, Pakistan is the third or the fourth largest nuclear power in the world now.
Yeah.
So that means
they've got it. They've got it. That's for sure.
So would that, from that point on, a retaliation into Palestine, then this thing, there's a no holds barred. Then when we get into that type of escalation, do you believe that Bibi Netanyahu is that insane? Because his policies show us that he is insane. Do you believe that he is that insane to take it there?
Yeah, I do. He's shown no restraint up to this point. Now, again, reality is going to intrude, at some juncture where they'll be recognized they faced defeat, something that never even entered their minds. But this is spiral. This is not. You can look at the situation and say, okay, yeah, saner voices are starting to talk. People are starting to calm down. This is de-escalating. No, 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 no. It's going the opposite direction. The threats are increasing. The rhetoric's becoming more strident. So it's dangerous.
I know the time is limited. I want to ask you two questions, and I'll let you go. What
Yeah,
is the real picture? What is the real picture on the ground in Ukraine? I saw the New York Times now is starting to leak out where Ukraine is losing, and they're saying that Russia is making battlefield breakthroughs, which is something because all Western press is always talking about how Russia is losing this many people and this many and that amount of weaponry. But now Western papers are, I guess because of the losses are so great and because what is really happening on the battlefield, they're starting to acknowledge some of the losses, not only to Ukraine, but to the Western world in terms of mercenaries.
yeah. Hey, have you ever done any boxing?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
a martial artist.
okay. So you know the boxing. You throw the jab to get somebody to bring their guard up in one area so that you can cold cock them with the other. That's exactly what Russia did with that when it came into the north around headed in the vicinity of Kharkov, and have been fighting in Volchansk now for 2 months. That forced the Ukrainians to draw a lot of forces out of the Donetsk and the Donbass and move them north to stop the Russians. If we now look at the size of the Russian commitment and realize the Russians, that was a feint, that was a jab, and that jab had its effect. It drew the Ukrainians north, weakened their positions in the Donbass, and now over the course of the last really month and a half, Russia's been moving at a really fast pace across the Donbass, and uh, they are uh, taking back Donetsk, the Federal Republic of Donetsk, in significant chunks. So uh, it's really pushed the Ukrainian army to a breaking point. They haven't snapped yet, but they're going to snap. You can't, I don't care what rubber band you have in the world. If you pull, stretch, at some point that thing's going to break. And the same thing's going to happen to the Ukrainian army. And you can see it. Yeah, you can see a little bit in the face of Volodymyr Zelensky, because now the Ukrainians are losing upwards of 2,000 men a day, whereas a year ago they were losing 700. It's a lot, but man, now it's triple, really triple that, if not quadruple, and they can't sustain those kinds of losses at all.
2,000, Larry.
Yeah,
God, oh my God.
yeah. You think,
Last,
I mean, think about when you total up all the Americans who died in Iraq and Afghanistan over 15, 20 years. Uh, Ukraine is losing that many in 3 days. Yeah, it's an amazing,
God,
yeah, amazing difference. And remember how upset, when we'd have tragedies like Extortion 17, the helicopter gets shot down with members of SEAL Team 6 on it, kills a bunch of special operations guys. It's terrible. It was a terrible tragedy. But, we get so emotional over that. And that's 20 guys. And, here in just one day alone, the Ukrainians look at losing 2,000.
that is out. That
Yeah,
is
a hundred
not
a hundred
sustainable.
times what we're losing.
That is absolutely not sustainable. Which leads me to my last question. I'm glad you set that up, Larry. Well, with everybody knowing the situation on the ground, the Russia, China, Iran, they're knowing what's going on the ground. And then we see the West and NATO. What is their thought on the situation, because they poured in tens of billions of dollars in money, tens of billions of dollars in weaponry, mercenaries, and everything else. And this is the fourth time Russia has destroyed a NATO armed, NATO trained, NATO armed
Yeah.
supply military. What are they thinking now vis-a-vis NATO in a direct confrontation with Russia and the collapse of Ukraine's military force also?
But I think there's growing recognition that NATO talks a lot of smack. Oh yeah, man, we're gonna kick your ass, okay? But then when it comes time to put on the gloves, put on the headgear, and get in the ring, they go, oh gee, I left it at home, or my 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 dog ate the homework, or because they realize that they don't have. What are they going to fight with? You know, they don't have the artillery shells. They don't have the barrels for the howitzers. They don't have the tanks. They've got some air power, but they don't have air defense systems worth a damn that can compare with what the Russians have. So they've, like I said, they're good at talking, but uh, their ability to deliver, whole nother matter. And some of the countries are waking up, going, like Slovakia and Hungary in particular. They're going, no, this is crazy. We don't need to be fighting the Russians. So it's just NATO's not growing stronger; they're growing weaker, but they keep claiming that they're growing stronger and more united. And it's just the opposite.
Once again, Larry, you kicked butt and you did an awesome, awesome job. Man, thank you so much. And again, I got to tell you, thank you for what you did for me.
Oh
I
man,
really appreciate
anytime.
it for me.
You're a friend and a brother.
I really appreciate it, Larry. I'll send you the video in a few minutes.
All right, man. Take care, and thanks for having me.
Be blessed, man.
All right,
And
bye-bye.
be safe. Bye bye.
Bye.
Everybody, we just had an awesome show by Larry. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. We might, if I get a chance to come back, we may come back and do a show later on if we get a chance to. But we got banging uh, upcoming shows. We have a lot of people. We have Larry Wilkerson Thursday. We have Matthew Eric Friday. We have the following week. We have about three, I think two to four more guests on coming. We're trying to give you the best. Please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, go back and check and see if you have been unsubscribed, because that has been happening a lot with the powers that be. I don't want to just say the platform, okay, because then they'll probably go ham and take more subscribers. I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me your time, and I hope that this exchange, your time for this information, was worth it. Remember that time is the most valuable commodity. It is an unrenewable resource. And so when you spend your time, because they call it spending time, you spent your time with us. We hope that the payoff was an equal or greater payoff for you. On that note, remember this: to treat others as you would have them to treat you, and always do right by people. Not because you want credit from everybody else. Do right by people because it's the right thing to do. And don't do it just because people are watching, because you are supposed to do it from the depths of your heart because God is watching. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Thank you, Larry. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. And I love the Red Pill family also. Deuces, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.